what I'd like to do is add on to that a little bit, tied into your upcoming question here, since you might be jumping right to that. When we've got a number of panelists here who represent large international firms, and inside a consulting firm of that nature, it can feel less consulting, meaning because there are so many responsibilities there. But what's important, whether you're in a large organization like that or not even in a consulting organization itself, is consulting is an attitude, if you will. It is a frame of mind, how you approach things. So Mohammed spoke is you're trying to solve a business problem. You're not just putting in your hours. You're actually there to help a customer. If you're working for a non-consulting firm, you're doing the same type of thing, but you've got the consulting mindset. Same thing even if you go out into a smaller firm or even as an independent. If you're not doing that, the only difference is the more independent you are, the more you live and die by your performance every day. And so the more you need to have that mindset in there that says, I am here to provide value, I'm here to deliver something, give results for the money that I'm getting out of this or for the compensation my organization is receiving.
I sort of want to add on to what Jeff said. I think he's exactly right. I mean, there's a piece I think with a lot of consultants deal with sort of role dilemma, if you want to point at times, because what you want to do is ultimately, you're working for a specific client, and you want to help improve the performance of their division or the organization overall. And part of that includes thinking about how can you influence this organization to do something differently. And sometimes that means you have to be very aware of some of the political situations that are going on within the organization, some of the challenges they have, some of the capability limitations, and think about how can I communicate to this leader of this organization that in fact their division is performing quite poorly, or that maybe the system they've invested in for the last couple of years is not worth it to invest anymore, and how you can make that sort of productive, as well as influence them to ultimately make a decision that will create value for that organization. So I think the communication piece you will take everywhere with you, because if you're running a business and you're working with other individuals, you'll always need to somehow influence them to do different things, and you also hope that they will do the same for you too. So the skills that you learn, I think, doing consulting are transferable in every field. And that's that.
To kind of bounce off that, what are some of those skills needed for these students coming in terms of succeeding generally in a consulting career?
I can take that one. That's a question I get a lot, because I spend a large amount of time with our campus recruiter who's meeting folks all the time. And probably the most common question we get is, what skills can we really provide to a client at this level? I mean, what have we learned that a client wants to know, aside from biology 101 or whatever it is? We don't have many clients who need that, but we're always looking for them. It's surprising that when you're on, there's sort of a spectrum in consulting where on one end you've got consulting companies who provide subject matter expertise in a particular area, and then on the other end you've got consultants who provide more of a facilitative expertise or facilitative approach, and many companies who provide both and everything, all the way from left to right. But especially when you're there for that facilitative expertise, if you've got a client who's got project work that needs to be done and it might be a short-term component, I guess one thing we didn't really get into is, why would you hire a consulting company? There are a ton of reasons to do that. You might be outsourcing an entire business process, like HR or IT or something like that. That happens a lot. But you might also just need a couple of people who are experts at sort of getting things done. Project delivery experts, you've probably all heard of project managers, program managers. You've got analysts who are more at kind of the entry level, typically, not always. Clients might just need you to do something, or just to kind of help out for the next 6 to 12 months, because you do have a unique skill set that the people, either they don't have people with those skills, or they don't have enough people. So the folks that we hire straight out of school are people who are naturally inquisitive, people who know what to do with the answers they receive. No one has all the answers, and I think if there's anything I've learned in my years in the industry, it's that you just never really get any answers. You just get very good at knowing what the right questions are, and then what to do when you do get the answer from your client. You're always asking, you're always listening to their needs, you're always listening to what they tell you, and You become able to identify the difference between what they want, what they communicate what they want, and what they really need. For instance, maybe their system isn't really working anymore. They need to stop investing in something. They're on some sort of a burning platform. They have to just get off of it, right? But for people who are starting right out of school, we're looking primarily for that intellectual curiosity. We're looking for leadership. We're looking for people who are going to go right into the client site and they'll ask around for the information they need, no matter who they have to go to. They're going to be comfortable talking to anyone in the elevator, even if they're just asking where the fax machine is or where the best place to eat is downtown, whatever it is. There's a lot of that curiosity. There's a lot of being able to deal with ambiguity, because that's one thing that's really common as a consultant. You don't get a list of 20 things to do today and a list of 20 things to do tomorrow, and you just keep repeating it. You have to kind of figure that list out on your own and with your project team. Just that curiosity, and then above all, I tell everyone that 80% of your work you do really at the client site, at least the work that I've done in the past, is social. You know, it's about meeting with people, it's about connecting with people, communicating effectively, not over-communicating, not under-communicating. It's not as much about sitting at your desk and putting together some great databases or developing some great tools. I mean, there's a time and a place for that, but more often than not, the successful consultants we see are just exceptional communicators, and that's something that you can bring to the table from day one.
I'd endorse a lot that you said. I was thinking of some other things. Now, our consulting space is leadership, and so we help organizations select people to be leaders, by kind of applied psychology, and then we also help leaders develop. So we work with them over the course of a year and their team and so on. So people who come new to our organization and probably already finished their doctorate and perhaps have some experience in an organization, or they've been like an inside consultant in an organization, work for the large companies that are here. And some of the characteristics we'd be looking for would be what you mentioned. Communication skills are very important. Writing skills are very important. Flexibility is very important. Sometimes our client organizations can change on a dime what they want, and one has to be flexible with that. It is in our firm, it is a fast-paced work environment. People come early and stay late to get done what has to get done. We are very team-oriented, and it sounded like that's true for the other panelists. So, for example, a person will own a relationship with a particular client and then put the team together that they need to serve that client. And so I'm on people's teams and I lead teams, and so we're kind of matrixed that way. So the ability to work in a team is really important. And I think too, in consulting, someone mentioned, I think it's Jeff maybe, that you living and dying by your next project. Did you say that? Okay. You have to be comfortable in our firm with a certain amount of business development, that everyone has expectations to develop business for the firm. And so if one said, well, I'm an expert, I'm just going to sit back and somebody else will get work for me, or I'll just wait for people to call me, you wouldn't be a good fit with our firm. So that's a little bit different, right? For the comfort with selling is hard for some people. Enough.